Like a Dragon's Traversal has been getting worse in this new JRPG era of the franchise, with Ijincho being such a large area, it's taking longer and longer to get around the city to your objectives. Now, in Like a Dragon tradition, you might be thinking just take a taxi, and were we still in the days of the franchise's action game route, I'd agree with you, but we have entered the RPG era, and there are significant downsides to fast travel. While the Like a Dragon franchise has made innovative additions to the RPG formula, like adding button prompts to make spells do more damage, they unfortunately have kept a tradition that most other genre contemporaries have done away with: forced grinding. Now, I know what you're thinking this time as well. You're not meant to rush through the story, you also need to do side content. The problem is, in other JRPGs, the side content will give you XP. In Infinite Wealth, it only gives you money as well as a variety of different rewards that don't include XP. So walking around the map is a must so you can enter the random encounters and make the grinding feel like it's part of the critical path, which kills the pacing and feels like meandering around. When I do side quests for XP in other games, I get the bonus of exploring the world and experiencing scripted content to complete. It doesn't feel like I'm just grinding to continue the game. So this is where Honolulu comes into play. As the most extensive map in the series to date, I couldn't help but groan as I knew that my problem with Yakuza 7 would only be worsened with this game. And I was right. Honolulu is the worst open world the series has ever had. It's the complete antithesis of what made Kamurocho so excellent. Kamurocho is a small and crowded area that grew as the series progressed. Each new installment brought new shops, minigames, and restaurants to try out, all neatly packed into an evolving world. It was excellent. While Ijincho was much bigger with less densely packed activities, it was still impressive for its size, and I knew that as more and more games featured the district, its activities would only grow, and Lost Judgment and Infinite Wealth have proved me right. Honolulu has activities and shops, but it's such a sprawling and expansive map that there's no realistic way they could make the world feel complete. As such, so much of Honolulu feels too spread out and empty, with nothing of note to be distracted by in between objectives. And unlike Ijincho, I don't have the confidence that this game is going to be improved with sequels, as this feels like a one-time map. Still, at the same time, with how Ijincho has been reused in every game since its debut, I can't imagine they're just going to let their most enormous map ever stay in one game. But Hawaii would have to become a franchise staple, and having a non-Japanese location be a returning location for these games feels so off. Don't get me wrong, I'd love it if Honolulu became more fleshed out in sequels, it's just that the Japanese locations are such a core part of Like a Dragon's identity that I can't imagine the series sticking around in the States. But of course, this video isn't about why the open world of Infinite Wealth is terrible, it's about the traversal. The bigger the map is in a game, the better the traversal has to be. But that's not necessarily true, as the issue of poor traversal in a big open world game can be fixed by adding dozens of fast travel points, like Skyrim and Zelda have done. But as I illustrated earlier, that's not an option in Like a Dragon, because you need those experience points from random grinding. You can't just turn the difficulty down for major boss fights, because the game doesn't offer difficulty options, which is an exceptionally stupid thing for a turn-based game to do, but I'll save that for another day. So if you're forcing me to walk around a large open world that's too thinly spread out, the least you can do is come up with an exciting way to get around. Infinite Wealth does this with its segues, which are a brilliant addition. It's fast, matches the bizarre tone of the game, looks gloriously stupid, and allows for random encounters. Indeed, it's the perfect way to get around, and it has a battery life. I'm so frustrated that they found the perfect solution to their problem, but then out of nowhere, they decide to go for realism in the most wacky and nonsensical franchise ever. It makes no sense that this makes sense. The game takes so many creative liberties with how Ichiban sees enemies as monsters, and that's why it's turn-based combat, and all the loopy justifications they make in order to add all these mechanics. It's just for them to go for realism over fun, when literally no one would have complained if this thing had infinite battery life is so weird. I mean, it's right there in the title! With this baffling inclusion, the segue becomes an inefficient method to get around the map, as the constant recharging keeps grinding you to a halt. I honestly think the game would have been better with a bicycle, but that feels too stereotypical, and Like a Dragon loves to be as over the top as possible. So they went for style with the Segway, but tripped themselves up with a battery mechanic, combining style with realism and ruining their good idea. There are so many ways to fix Like a Dragon's traversal problems, whether they lower the number of experience points needed to progress the story, add more side activities that reward you with XP, make the map smaller, or add fun traversal mechanics without battery life. There's so many ways to fix this glaring issue with the franchise that I can only hope Like a Dragon 9 is the game to solve it.